Hi, I just thought I would share my food poisoning experience while it's kind of fresh in my mind and I've still kind of got it. I went to Malta for a week from the 16th to 23rd of January, staying in two places and two hotels, 3 nights in Valletta and 4 nights in Slima. Throughout the holiday I didn't really feel I ate anything dodgy, and I don't eat meat anyway. Staying in the second hotel on the Tuesday, the 21st, I felt like I had a bowel cramp, but it went off and I didn't think anything of it. After that it was off and on for the few days, and then coming home on the plane I had it a bit, but again didn't think anything of it. On the Thursday night, quite late, I had horrendous stomach pain and abdominal cramp. If it didn't go off, I would have called an ambulance because it was so bad and I couldn't move out of the chair and couldn't even stomach eating anything or drinking anything. Luckily, it went off a bit that I could go to bed but didn't sleep very well at all. So the day after, I called up in the morning for an urgent GP appointment because I felt so off. Luckily got an appointment at 10:20. Went in, described my symptoms. GP didn't think it was appendicitis but wasn't too sure. Because he took my temperature and it was high and I had a high heart rate, he phoned through to Macc hospital, and I was to go through A&E and be seen quite quick. So upon getting to Macc at about 12:05, I had urine test taken, blood test taken, ultrasound taken, a pregnancy test taken. That's all these men seem to think it is. But anyway, everything came back normal, apart from the blood test which showed up an infection. So after being there for 4 hours, they have to give you a bed anyway. I was wheeled up to Ward 5, where I was to stay for 3 more nights. So when I got in, I was only put on sips of water, so I couldn't eat anything, as they thought they were going to do a CT scan at some point. That night I had horrendous diarrhea and really bad abdominal pain. They ask you to score your pain on a scale of 1 to 10, and that night it was a 7. I was given paracetamol to reduce my temperature and relieve any pain. So I didn't sleep very well, as I kept getting up and going to the toilet. They asked for a sample of this, so this was done on the Saturday morning, and then they sent it off to the labs to be tested. They then revealed that they weren't going to do a CT scan for some reason, and then I asked whether I can eat and drink. Because it was after breakfast, I just asked for toast, which was fine. So I struggled eating this as I had to keep getting up and going to the toilet, and then I felt more off. The consultant was coming round that morning to assess everybody and figure out what was going on. So they came to me first. There was about 6 other doctors in the curtain at the time. They discussed that because the blood displayed infection, white blood cells, they thought it was a UTI. Obviously I disagree with this, as you don't really get diarrhea with a UTI. But anyway, I took the advice and listened. So he said he was going to keep me in, monitor how I'm doing, because the blood came back showing an infection. So they wanted to watch, and also there was a temperature. Obviously pain continued throughout the day and I was given paracetamol as and when. Usually pills came around dinner time and then tea time, so about 5 o'clock. Then there was also another one going around at 10. So about 7 o'clock at night, I was actually given antibiotics to treat a UTI. This was a big capsule, which I said I struggled to take big tablets. I was told I could open it up and it was safe to just put water with it and drink it. I took it, but it didn't quite sit right with me, and I informed them that I couldn't take any more of that one. As I was in quite a lot of pain at this point in time, another lady had mentioned to me about having a cannula fitted for any paracetamol or any antibiotics that could be administered that way instead of swallowing it, as there were no liquid forms of the one I was given. Anyway, a cannula wasn't fitted successfully after failed attempts of trying to get a vein in my hand. And I said, no, you're not trying anymore because it's horrendous and I hate needles. I was given to take 2 different large antibiotics. This was called... No, it wasn't. That was a different one. Anyway, I couldn't take that, and I was told I could dissolve that in water as well. Sipped that one and it didn't sit right either because they're quite strong. Anyway, I just persevered with taking paracetamol after the ordeal of having a needle shunted back in my arm and not being able to take these massive tablets they wanted me to take. This took me up to 11 o'clock on the Saturday night. So the next morning, Sunday the 26th, at 8 o'clock, a blood test was taken again. The specialist came round later that morning and analysed that the blood didn't show as much infection, but he still wanted to treat me for a UTI, even though I was having severe diarrhoea, which I didn't quite understand, but you listen and take the advice. I was asking when the sample come back, but there was no results of that yet. So on the Sunday, about 12ish, they were saying if I was fine, I could go. I was far from fine, still had bad cramp, but it was a lot better than sitting in there if I could go home. So I was discharged with ciprofloxacin antibiotics to take, which are quite large white tablets, which I took on the Monday yesterday, but they started giving me severe headache and really bad eye pain and a tight throat. So I called up the GP later on Monday to see whether there was any other antibiotic I could take. This phone call appointment, the GP actually mentioned I was being treated for, they found food poisoning in the sample, but they actually hadn't told me this. So I actually didn't have a UTI at all. It was food poisoning from somewhere. And as I'd been on holiday, they thought I had a bug. Anyhow, I was given a different course of antibiotics, which I'm to take for 7 days. The GP also stated he had to report the food poisoning incident to whoever monitors the outbreaks of UK food poisoning. So the bacteria that was found was called Campylobacter, which is one of the most common food poisoning bugs in the UK. I still struggle to think how I actually got this, as I watch what I eat. However, when you're away somewhere, you don't really see how food is prepared. This is the 3rd time in 12 months I've actually had something while I've been on holiday. So I might just be one of these people. But this is the first time I've ever been in hospital overnight, and I don't really want it to happen again.